All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, another Coach Development Live, and we've got a very special guest. Mr. Malleolo is in the house. This guy has been a part of it all. Seminar staff, CrossFit Games athlete, now heading up affiliates for CrossFit Mayhem. All right, I got to know, just first and foremost, what does that mean? My assumption is that heading up affiliate, like to be a CrossFit Mayhem affiliate, means you follow their programming. Is that it? What more is there?
Yeah. So, as of today, it's relatively good morning, Jessica. This is exciting. As of today, yes, we have gyms that follow the Mayhem programming, and that's the foundation. And my role, as I've kind of stepped in here, is amongst many other things internally, but also is to evolve and grow what we're delivering to our gyms. So yes, the base is the programming, and Darren and the team have done a phenomenal job at building out that program and adding a lot of value to gyms. And now the evolution of that from a Mayhem perspective from across the ocean. That's really distracting. It's amazing though. It's exciting. People are just saying hi, but I like it. And but then from there is like, how do we start to add more support and value to our gyms that are looking for that, right? And I think a lot of this has just come from, and you guys know this, right? You've been in the space long enough. You've done seminars. You do this with Best Hour, amongst other things. When you're providing something to our community, oftentimes they ask for, hey, what else do you do? Can you do this for us? Or they ask questions for, and again, we got this at seminars for, hey, what, and that's how we all kind of started programming 15 years ago. Cause everyone's like, hey, can you give us programming? And we're like, sure, we can do that. Right. And then hence a lot of, hey, can you help me run a better business? And boom, Best Hour kind of pops up and, so it's similar to that. And over the next couple months, we're going to be very systematic of sort of announcing what this looks like. And a couple key moments, obviously, we have our affiliate con event, which is coming up end of October. And we'll spend, I'll be there, Mayhem will be there. And we should have some exciting announcements at that time. Be in London next weekend at Coaches Congress as well, across the pond. And just kind of starting to lean into what we plan on doing. And it's no mistake what, I've been a part of at CrossFit for the last 5 years. And prior to that, of how do we provide support from, beyond programming? How do you implement it a little better, right? How do we become better coaches? What does that look like on the floor? But then also from a business perspective, there's a lot of areas of opportunity. And again, think about what you guys do. There's no shortage of gyms that are wanting that support and need that support. So that's sort of that high level piece. A lot of it too is just as we think about the future of Mayhem, we have Mayhem HQ, we have Mayhem Athlete, and how do we really start to galvanize that across, all of our users to just bring the community together from a leadership perspective. And we believe that the epicenter of our community is within our gyms and our affiliates. So that's really our focus, and that's my main charge.
Nice, man. You mentioned it being an affiliate con. We can't wait for that. And now people are going to be super excited for the announcements that you're going to make while you're there. Tell us what else you guys are planning. I know you've got some slots where you're going to be speaking. There's going to be some breakouts. Like what are you planning on doing while you're there?
Yeah, so our team will be there. So I'll get up there and chat a little bit. And I've been dusting off some. It's been a while since I've been lecturing a little bit. So I'll get up there.
Public speaking muscles.
That's right. I gotta flex those a little bit again. And so I'm excited to get up there, and a couple others from Mayhem will be speaking to, and then we'll have Darren and Christy and the team. We'll be doing some workouts and some workshops. And honestly, I think, when we think what specifically we're doing, we try to pull on a lot of our learnings, right? So me specifically, I'm going to spend some time talking about what we have learned over the last 10, 15 years. And I spent a lot of time talking to Rich about this over the last month or so. And I don't think there's anyone better in the space to really articulate learnings better. You think about what Rich has done with Mayhem, what he has done personally, athletically, not many people that are, in the space equate Rich with affiliate ownership first, but he had a gym, 15 years ago, and you guys have all been there. You guys have probably were at the old location as well, and and a lot of learnings have come up along the way. And one of, I believe, our main responsibilities is to share that, right, and with our community. In fact, I actually think it's the number one guiding tenet from the level one as well. I think it's the most forgotten and overlooked aspect from the CrossFit level one. We probably forget what 80% of the level one after you leave it, which is fine, because that 20% will change your life.
It's thrusters and pull-ups, right?
That's right. That's right. And I'm supposed to weigh and measure what, but but then from there, it's we spend a lot of time talking about variance, functionality, intensity. We spend a lot of time talking about this work capacity across broad time and modal domains. We love nutrition and these little areas, but the most important aspect from my perspective is the notion that we are unequivocally tied to what works. Right? We say it. We have a couple nice little sort of cheeky paradigms we highlight, but that to me is all that matters. Right? And you listen to the old Greg stuff, he always would talk about that. And we would actually, and we say it, it's like, we don't care about variance, functionality, intensity more than we care about results. We define results as work capacity across broad time and modal domains throughout your lifetime is health. And I actually think that that's where we have woefully dropped the ball as a community the last 15 years. What I mean by that is, what have we learned and what are we doing differently now? And what should we be doing differently? What have we gotten better? Have we learned new things? Right? And that's something that I'm going to spend some time talking a lot about, and I've been putting a lot of thought into, and really leveraging Rich and Mayhem, and from like, what have we learned? What do we need to explicitly talk about, and what can we continually do better?
That's such an interesting concept, and it makes me think of like so many different rabbit holes I want to go down. But it's like, obviously we're getting better. Like if you look at the overall fitness levels of general population athletes in any affiliate, they're as fit as CrossFit Games champions were in 2000.
The very beginning, yeah.
7 and 8, right? So it's like, it clearly works. And I know, like, I think one of the results speak for themselves for Mayhem and what they've been doing, right? Look at how many athletes, look at what Rich accomplished himself. So clearly what they're doing works. I think one of the things in figuring out how to bridge the gap, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, because I think you've lived on both sides of it, is there's this argument of like, hey, there's this programming that actually works and we've got to do all this stuff to make it happen. And then there's this other side where there's the argument, well, if there's so much stuff in programming that goes to the general populations in like a 60-minute session, how do we as coaches actually do our job in actually coaching people? And I know, with your affiliates, with your time at Reebok One and on seminar staff, coaching is like such a top priority for you. So how do you guys plan on helping to bridge that gap? Because I think any feedback that I've heard about Mayhem programming is that it's fantastic, but sometimes some of the sessions are jam-packed and it becomes tough to like, where do I fit in my teaching scene and correcting?
That's right. Well, I want to get into that, but I just realized, why do I look like a midget on this screen? Do you notice that? Like, you guys are like giants.
Yeah.
But you got the flag at the top right there.
Yeah.
Just angle your camera down a little bit.
Oh, I thought I was angled like that so we could see that great games.
Yeah, I mean, that's like you guys are just cropped so much differently. I literally look like an Oompa Loompa, which is fine.
I'm okay with
it. I'm leaning into my my all 5'5" of my my height here. So I just noticed, I'm like, my God, I literally look like a little guy here, but it's okay.
Your camera's just
angle your camera down, or just
no. We got to own it now. We got to.
Now it would just be awkward if you became like a big giant.
Yeah. Now, I can't I can't change it, but I just had to call it out because everyone was thinking it, so we had to make sure that everyone at least was, we put it in the forefront. Heck yeah, Jens.
That's awesome, Jens.
So. To the question, and I'm gonna start to repeat the question because I got to get back into my professional lecturing state here. When we think about programming and we think about some of the feedback we receive from a Mayhem perspective, there's a lot in there. What does that look like, and how do we properly kind of display that across a 60-minute class. And it's actually something I've talked to Darren, who does the programming for Mayhem Gym. And, I think the biggest challenge with any delivery of an online product in general is that, you're speaking to an audience that you don't have the ability to interact with live in that moment. It's also a broad audience, right, of different skill sets. So for example, when you look at a class plan, and if you are an advanced coach, someone that's been around the block, you can take any class plan, whatever's in it, and deliver a phenomenal class. You're going to make tweaks and changes according to who's in front of you. And it's funny you say that, because that's actually one of the things we're going to be talking about at AffiliateCon, is how to tweak and change the workout and the class plan according to who's in front of you.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
And that, because that is the most important thing, right? Where, it's, and giving yourself, like, again, as simple as, if I'm coaching the 5 a.m. class, I'm coaching that a lot different than I'm coaching the 4 p.m. class.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think we talk about that regardless of what plan you're following, right? If you're following CAP or Mayhem or any of the other options out there, I'm always like just trying to reiterate to people that, hey, they don't know your population, they don't know your gym, they don't know your equipment. Don't feel like it's gospel. Use it as a template and a guide, but adjust according to what's going to work best for you and what's going to work for it, to your point, that class and that scenario. So I think you guys saying that from the top down probably is going to hopefully give people some freedom and the confidence to be like, oh, okay, I don't have to follow it to the T in order to actually, achieve the results that we're hoping to achieve. We've got some flexibility and freedom there.
Yeah, just the mindset of looking at it more like a guide or a template rather than set in stone. And I agree, coming straight from the horse's mouth, I think will be helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think, but on the other side of that, right, like, as an owner, you also are looking to save time, money, and energy. And I think we also call spade a spade. Like, if you have a gym with part-time coaches, they're coaching a couple hours a week, they're going to read the class plan a couple minutes before class and go execute, right? I used to live in a world of like, everyone's got to prep an hour the night before, like, you got to no one's doing that shit. And it's not that they don't want to, it's the fact that it just doesn't fit in their lifestyle right now. And if they're only coaching a couple hours a week, and it'd be nice for them to spend an hour, before to, and they're making their class plans look like Denise Thomas at the whiteboard, right? Like, but that's just not happening, right? So you also have to deliver something that is clean enough and then tight enough for a young or novice coach, one that's inexperienced, for them to be able to really deliver a good product. And so there are those are actually some of the things that we're going to be implementing into like our class plans, specifically of like, what are those things that you can do to make your life easier, right? You're going to have someone that has been doing CrossFit for 1 month, and they just graduated from whatever you call your on-ramp, your elements, your one-on-ones, right? And then you also have salty vets that have been there for 7+ years, right? That's a hard class to coach no matter what. If you got, hey, and then we're doing some back squats in the beginning, right? But it's all about the delivery, right? Again, I don't know my percentages, and I've been doing CrossFit for 15 years, right? And again, at 5 a.m., I don't care what my percentages are. I'm just going in there.
Right.
And if I see like an 80, any numbers higher than like 80% or more, I'm like, okay, I got to be uncomfortable. Great. That's all I care about. I got to be uncomfortable. I don't even care what the weight is, right? And, and I'm probably even more lackadaisical now. It's like, if it's 5 reps, plus or minus a couple reps, depending on how the bar's moving, right? But you can tell a salty vet that's been doing this for 7 years. That's fine, because our average age of gyms is 7 years, right?
Is that Mayhem affiliate or CrossFit?
All CrossFit affiliates.
Okay.
So you got to think through, if the average age of our gym is 7 years old, then we have members. Then just think about the average length of members, right? And retention is strong within gyms once you get past the first 90 days. You guys know that. Mm-hmm. So, so you have a lot of salty vets in there that kind of know what they're doing, or at least think they know what they're doing, right? Which is usually the worst. But then you also got brand new athletes that have no idea what they're doing, and they're just looking for help, right? They're like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? Where do I put the bar on my back? And we're doing back squats. Next thing the bar's overhead. Like, you got to be careful with those athletes.
So tell me, like, to that point, and I know we make that point a lot of times at seminars when I get asked that question of like percentages, does it work? Should we do it? Should we see that in normal programming? Do you guys provide that in Mayhem programming? Will you continue to do so? Because to your point, you've been doing this longer than anybody. You probably should know your numbers as well or better than anybody, and you don't, right? So should we expect, brand new athlete A to come in and know what 80% of their whatever is based on the fact that it's probably no longer 80% because they're either stronger or that day, they're feeling good or not feeling good.
It's funny. And, and the reason why we think, percentage, I think Coach Bergner, and so Bergner does our lifting stuff. And so he uses percentages, but if, and this is going back, if you guys, I don't even know if the old Bergner archives exist, but like, I remember this was like 15 years ago, maybe I don't even know. Like, I feel like I'm getting old by saying this, but there was a question about percentages, and he said this, and it was the best explanation of percentages I've ever heard. So I don't want to take credit for it. Where he basically said, listen, we put percentages on the website, on our programming, because we are not coaching you live. Because we have to give a framework of what we're looking to achieve, and percentages achieve that, right? They give you a framework of what you're trying to do here. But if you're in front of me, I tell you what to lift, when to lift, and how to lift it.
That's
and he
awesome.
goes, and he's like, but he goes, but that's when you're with me at Mike's gym, that's Coach Bergner's gym. And I remember that. And I remember talking to him. He would come out to Reebok all the time and talk through it. He's like, hey, if the bar's hot, we're going to lift. Like, it might be a Tuesday, but if the bar's hot, we're going to go for it if the bar's hot. It might be max effort day, but the bar is moving like garbage. We're going to pull back, and we might just have an empty bar today, right? So that to me is the best. So yes, percentages, I think, are very important for delivery of online programming and delivery to the masses. But the implementation, which is our coach and owners and those that are on the floor, need to have that understanding of how to, just tweak based off who's in front of you. So that's
huge. That's such a good statement. And it's like, I want to repeat it because coaches that are paying attention to this, like, that's not just Coach B's job when you're at his gym. What he's saying there is that it's our job as coaches. So when you're coaching a class and there's percentage work, don't leave it up to your athletes to do what the percentage is. Watch how they move and you guide them. Okay. Hey, Kristen, it looks good today. Let's go up a little bit. Hey, Austin, doesn't look like you're at your best. Let's stay there for the next rep. I think that's just so important. And I love just that explanation of why percentages are valuable in a written program. But the reality of it is the percentage number is not nearly as important as what we see in front of us as coaches. And it's like our guide it's our job to guide our athletes in front of us, which is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, once again, goes back to that we as coaches have not only the authority, but also the responsibility to adjust and tweak the written programming based on the people in front of us and what they look like. And yeah, I'm certainly going to steal that quote or concept from Coach B to talk to coaches about. It's cool.
Yeah. And I think,
we get a good one from Vicente. Finish that thought and then we'll address this question. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. And I think that because like linear progressions, undulating progressions, it works, right? Like, that's the other thing. Like, there's very few things that you're going to listen, like creatine, it works, like there's more studies out there than you can imagine. Probably makes sense. Linear periodization, linear progressions is unbelievably effective. But the reality is you have to earn your right to move load, right? And this is something
Absolutely.
that is really important. Is that and this some of these core concepts that we forget about from the level one is that the neurological aspects of these functional movements are as important and they increase as movements get more complex and heavier. It's the same concept when it comes to in the gym of you gotta move well to move more. So you gotta earn that right. And that's hard to do, right? Like the what we forget is that a new coach, novice coach, and I say new, and I should rephrase that, just someone that doesn't have a lot of reps, right? Someone that just coaches once in a while, is that it's tough to tell someone who looks physically capable and able that, hey, like, because this is what they're hearing. You're doing it wrong. You move like shit, and I'm not letting you do what you want to do. Like, that's what the athlete hears, right? It's really hard to deliver. Like, and I say that because now that I have a 7-year-old in the house, everything I say is wrong because I'm delivering it wrong. Like, I have to get a roundabout way in order for her to listen to me, or else I'm literally telling her she's wrong.
And she's not allowed to do what she wants to do.
Exactly.
And now you're the bad guy.
Yeah, and then nothing happens, right?
Yeah.
Adults are literally children in a gym, right? Like, but it's even harder because they have a little more emotional capacity, and their ego is much higher, and their insecurities are much higher in a gym. This isn't a knock on any human in a gym. It's just what we need to be aware of with adults in the gym. So it's very hard, right? And that's why coaching is very hard. That's why you guys do what you do. That's why we support coach the way we do, because the reality is, and this is a segue to Vincent, of like, why would someone want to do this? Well, the answer is, the goal would be it should buy you more time to allow you to spend more time on other things that you would find more important. Which means if you love programming and everything else is humming, it's like you probably should write it, right? But when you think about, why would anyone outsource anything, programming or anything in general, right? I hate talking about myself. Let's talk about cleaning. Why would you outsource cleaning, right? Every single person can clean a toilet, right? Can mop the floor. But why would you do that? What is your time value? And I'll give a story about how my financial planner gave me this feedback about mowing my lawn. I loved to mow my lawn. Loved it. And he's like, well, at some point you're going to have to make a decision to not mow your lawn anymore. I said, no, I love it. I'm going to always mow my lawn, right? He's like, well, and it was also an ego thing. It's like, my lawn. It's like, oh, it's like this thing, right?
You've got the line, like you have the
lines,
like
and
do
the
it.
neighborhood,
Like no one
the
else is going to
ego,
do the lines at the angle that I like the
Oh,
lines.
dude, I used to just switch it up and do different designs based on what baseball field I'd looked at. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this thing. But then at some point he's like, well, hey, here's the thing, right? What's your time value? He goes, what could you be doing for those 2 hours it takes for you to mow that lawn? How much is your time worth? And then also, where are you spending your time? Because again, it's like, hey, that's 2 hours that you can't spend with your daughter. That's 2 hours that you can't spend on your business. That's 2 hours that you can't spend doing something else. So how much is it worth to you? And that really changed my perspective on everything that I do, is that, so if I'm going to outsource something, I just have that conversation, right? Now, did I love mowing? I did, but you know what I liked more? Playing with
hanging
my
out with your
daughter,
daughter. Yeah.
right? No doubt, right? And for me, and then from there, it's like, well, then also, it's like, I also know my time value. I know what I'm worth and what I can deliver. And I actually, if I pay someone to mow my lawn, I can make money. I can make more money in those 2 hours when they are mowing my lawn while I'm paying them.
Right.
So and so when we think about why should someone do that, I can tell talk to the blue in the face of X, Y, or Z, but you need to make that decision for you. It's like, hey, is this something that I'm willing to lean into? It should make your life easier and should be something you want to do. And then there's a lot of other reasons, but that for me is like that's just a personal conversation I have with myself with anything that I would have this conversation about.
Ooh, all right. So then that leads to another question that's kind of a continuation of this one here. So you've just sold me on why my time's valuable and it shouldn't be spent on writing programming. Why should I choose? Yeah. Why should I choose Mayhem over all of the other options there are out there?
Well, I used to, it's my favorite question we used to get. It's like, well, why should I come? What owners love asking this. Well, when someone comes in my gym and they say, why should I join your gym in the gym down the road and not the gym down the road? Right. I said, well, I can't make that decision for you. And I encourage you to try out all the other gyms down the road. Right. And I would always say, and if you come here, try us out, I'm convinced that we will deliver a product that if it fits for you, It'll be the best decision of your life. The beauty of the CrossFit community, the beauty of the, from a programming space, that there are different flavors, right? Look at that, Jessica. Boom. And so why are we better? I don't think that's the right question. It's like, well, what do we deliver, right? And I think that's the question you have to ask, is that, and I think what I like to hold our hat on is experience and evolution. Kind of what I talked about earlier is that, the commitment to, like, hey, why would I want to be a part of Mayhem in any capacity? It's like, well, why? And here's another thing. I'll make it personal. Why did I go work for Mayhem? Why did I leave CrossFit and go work for Mayhem? Because I did. Because I believe that what Rich has built and what Mayhem has built is at the epicenter of our community. And there's a lot of opportunity to add value. And many people within our community look at Mayhem and look at Rich and are looking for guidance and leadership right now in our community. And that is something that I believe is a responsibility that we have to hold very high and with a lot of respect. And that, to me, is what we need to be delivering and transmitting through our programming. So, like I said, we need to be learning and evolving, right? And then when it's all said and done, it just needs to work for you. It should make your life easier, and it should be fun. And listen, like, programming is one thing, but results matter the most, right? When it's all said and done. No one leaves your gym if they're getting results, they're hitting their PRs, they look better naked, and they're achieving everything they want to achieve, right? No one's like, well, you know what, your gym sucks, I'm leaving, but I've achieved every goal I've ever set out to achieve, right? It just doesn't happen.
Only if they want to open up their own gym. That might be the only reason.
Exactly, right? And a good gym owner should be aware of that person, have tried to get them to stay at their gym by putting them through their level 1 and getting them the coach. And then an even better gym owner works to set them up for success when they open their gym, and then be a minority investor in that second location. But we can talk about that later, right? Because you're aware of your people, right? And that you guys preach this so well, of like, just knowing your people, right? If that happens out of the blue and you're blindsided, that's your fault as an owner, right? But we can go down that route a little later. Or that person's a shithead. And very rarely do shitheads exist in a gym for that long, right? Right? CrossFit weeds them out. Our affiliate owners weed them out. Members weed them out, right? But I think that's the main aspect of when I think about Mayhem program, think about what we're doing, what we're building. It needs to be that simple. And it needs to be results driven. Everything comes back to results. And people will leave a gym for one of two reasons, outside of just, a force majeure type of deal, right? They're either not getting results, or they're unaware of the results that they're getting. Those are the only two reasons. And both of which are the coach's fault, right? So we have to make the moments that allow us to highlight that they're getting better, and we need to be just laser focused on getting our members better.
So so what do you guys, so obviously when it comes to programming, a great way to highlight how well somebody's getting and the results that they're getting is with benchmarks. How do you guys approach that at Mayhem?
I mean, so I think there's, I think a few things. One, with, we do program strength and a significant amount. And I think, honestly, a beautiful aspect of that is it is the easiest way to highlight you're getting better, right? Strength is the easiest way. Why? Because I put on 2.5s. I lifted more than I lifted last week. I'm getting stronger, right? There is a beauty to that. And that's why people love lifting, right? Because it's easy to see that you're getting better, right? So that happens relatively consistently. We do repeat benchmarks a good amount. We do a lot of, like, we spend a lot of time on, we do like monthly challenges to work towards, like, getting better at those types of things. And obviously the repetition of benchmarks, we name all of our workouts. So we can repeat them
and create your own benchmarks regularly. Yeah.
So those are it's, And then it also becomes a thing of like, you know, you can look forward to like, then like, it is a, because you got to remember also members only come in 3 days a week. This thing also
Mhm.
people forget. On average, members come based off the data that I've seen is that and for CrossFit affiliates, 3 days a week.
That's interesting.
3 days a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think? Well,
Why do I think it's interesting?
yeah.
I don't know. I just I think it's interesting to even have the data. Like I've not heard that data. Is that from the Mayhem data? Like just
No,
people
this is
entering
from,
their
I believe this is like from Push Press and a few others from like
Okay.
just like actual check-in data.
Yeah. I'm not surprised to hear it. Like I'm not like, no way, that's crazy. I just haven't I didn't know that that statistic was even out there, so I just think it's interesting to know that. And
I-
yeah, it just influences different things I'm thinking in my head.
It's like I think we can be jaded because we are so passionate about this and all in, and we're surrounded by people that are like, hey, if I could work out 8 days a week, I would do it. I remember how,
Yeah.
you remember what it was like when you were going to work with Austin going into a weekend, and you're like, crap, we're going to work out
I've
before the
literally
seminar, we're going
blocked
to work
that
out
out
at
of
lunchtime
my
3
memory.
times.
I don't remember at all. No.
We're going to work out after the seminar, and then we're going to go to Whole Foods to eat.
It's like I would train for the whole week leading up to, I'd taper so that for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I'd be ready to rock.
Man, makes me happy. At least, so it's some legacies,
That is a legacy. I definitely would call that, especially it was even not to go down this rabbit hole, but if I ever worked with you in Canada and then you get around those guys, it was like 10 times worse.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Hard.
there was a year stretch where I think I did every seminar in Eastern Canada.
Yeah.
I love my Canadians. They don't let me in Canada anymore. They don't let me up there. They stop me at the border. Like, you came here too much.
Like,
I've been
no.
deported from Canada. Like they're
You've
like, no,
reached your lifetime limit of coming
literally,
over the
like, you're out.
border.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, Todd, we get in this bubble. We're in the gym all the time. We're surrounded by people that are in the gym all the time. So yeah, just to hear that the average person is coming 3 times a week, I think that's great. 3 times a week is, stay consistent with that. That's awesome. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And to your point, I think that's probably why.
Yeah, it's like most people that are members at gyms are just everyday average people that, to Austin's point, want to get fitter and healthier and look better naked and keep up the rest of their life. And so they're getting into the gym at best 3 days a week. And so that also is where some of it goes back to the programming question of like, all right, if that's the majority of who we are catering to, if we make this thing too complex or too competitive, is that going to overdo it for them? Like, also, are we going to, I've seen some programs that do certain things on these certain days. And it's like, all right, if you're only squatting on Tuesdays and, Joe comes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he's never going to get a chance to squat. How much sense does that make? So I think that's why some of these things are important. It's like, as much as we can do this stuff and we're surrounded by some of the people that are super into it and will be there every day, rain or shine, most people aren't. And I think there needs to be some awareness for that, right?
Yeah, and it's a wonderful philosophical conversation. I think a lot about it. And basically, I think there's 2 ways you can approach it. You either, and it's top down or bottom up, right? And what I mean by that is, okay, and you got to remember, an average is a shitty stat because it doesn't tell you what's happening. Right. It's a sexy number to say on something like this, but like what's really happening is you have a bunch of people coming all the time, because you guys know this, right? This is why that number probably surprises a lot of us. We're like, no, like my 5:30 class, they come every day. Yes, they do. But you have 180 members, like on average, 150 members is the average number of members in a gym, right? So you have 150 members, you're probably seeing a consistent 60 to 75 of them throughout the week. Then you have this other group of people that are coming really sporadically, right?
Right.
So, and now here's the other thing. So you have a group of people that come consistently, more than 3 days a week. And then you have another group of people that are coming inconsistently. Who do you cater to? This is the question, right? Because to your point, Todd, like if I cater to like the people that come all the time, yeah, I could program like a nice in a way that is somewhat rhythmic, so on and so forth, right? And because the unknown and unknowable, like as the older I get, like I care less about it, honestly.
You care less about the unknown and unknowable.
Yeah, like I just really like, because the reality is, it is okay to do things somewhat consistently, right? Like for me,
And
like
that you enjoy too.
yeah, exactly. I just enjoy every morning I wake up and I have a Stairmaster, and it is my favorite piece of equipment. Okay.
Oh,
And I Stairmaster every morning for 20 or 30 minutes before I work out every day. Best thing I've ever done, because I'm warmed up. It centers me. It feels great. If you told me that 10 years ago, I'd been like, Austin, you're a loser, right? I would have called myself a complete loser, right? You can't do the same thing every day. Absolutely, you can if you want to, and you feel better for it, right? Who cares, right? Like the reality is, like, who cares? But it makes me feel great. But the reality is, you have those people that are coming. Then the other group, which are equally as important, arguably more important, because those are the ones that are struggling to be consistent. They're somewhat fickle, but they're paying you the same amount of money. You want them to come all the time. And I heard this feedback, and it was someone that was they're a gym owner, and I think there's like their wife travels a lot, and he's like, I'm going to tell you this, and it hurts me to tell you. I said, okay. My wife, she goes to Orange Theory more than comes to CrossFit. And I was like, and at this point, listen, nothing surprises me anymore, unfortunately or fortunately. So, well, why? All I want to know is why, right? Like, why is someone that is so understands everything so well decides to go to somewhere else? And like, well, she doesn't get to work out a lot, like at a gym, right? She's traveling a lot, like, so it's only a couple days a week at the most, and that's with the family, like, and that's the reality a lot of people have, right? And she's like, when I go to the gym, I don't want to spend 20 minutes working on handstand walking. I just don't. Like, I want, like, and it's like, I understand the value of it and I understand it, but like, I want to go there, and like, I only get 3 times a week. Like, I really want to like work for that time. I can work on skill, like other things. And I said, listen, like, now the coaching, you say, well, listen, like, you can get a really great session working on your hands and so on and so forth. But then the realist in me is, if I'm going to a class of 10 or 15 people with an intermediate to good coach, you are going to be doing some standing around. It is going to be really hard to get feeling good. So for someone that has a different goal, their goal is like, I'm in here for one of my 3 days a week, and I really just want to move. And I just want to move, and I want to feel good. Maybe lift some heavy weight, get a little workout, and do some accessory work, which we've all been in that boat, right? We've all walked into the gym and said, listen, I don't want to learn something today. I just want to work out and move on with my day, because I'm frustrated. I'm struggling. I know what I should be doing based off this, but I just want to do this. And that's a really hard thing to balance. And I this stirs up a bunch of emotion, but the reality is, it's easy to distill it down. It's hard to pull it up, right? What I mean by that is, if I got a back squat session, a workout session, some accessory work, right? It's easy to just say, hey, you don't need to lift today, right? Let's just get you on the bike, and I'm going to just have you do, 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off for 10 minutes. Then from there, you're going to go into the workout, or not, or whatever it might be. It's easy to pull things out, tear it out, right? It's easy to make it simpler. It's hard. It's hard to say, all right, if all we're doing today is,
100-meter handstand walk for time.
Right, which we've seen before, right? It's like,
Oh, yeah.
First off, like, it's hard, and because you got to be super creative and thoughtful of what you're going to do, versus I can pull that down easy versus build it up. So, and again, I don't think one is right or wrong. I said you can go bottom up or top down. You got to figure out, and I learned this when I was at Reebok CrossFit One, finishing up, and coaching full time there. And it was interesting because at the gym for context for the listeners out there, is like, the gym that we had was a gym. The first floor was a CrossFit gym, but then the second floor was a traditional gym. We had 3 studios, we had a boxing ring, and everything you can imagine. It was basically like a Lifetime Fitness, with the CrossFit gym being there in the bottom, and we managed that whole facility. So people would come all the time. Right. CrossFit was the biggest membership. And then I started to notice that a lot of members, consistent members, people that I knew really well, would sneak upstairs and not come to the gym. And I remember one time I was like, man, like I'm seeing this happen more often, right? So I remember I asked a member, I said, well, what's going on? Like, why aren't you coming here? Like, honestly, like, I just want to, I'm in a bit of a rush, and I just want to turn it off, and I just want to move a little bit today. And, so I just want to kind of do my own thing. I said, okay. And so I blamed myself. I said, that's not good. Because if we didn't have the opportunity to have a gym like that, they wouldn't have come to the gym. I wouldn't have seen them, right? We had the opportunity to see everyone every day. I was like, man, like, okay, well, if you're ever, and I remember saying this vividly, if you're ever feeling that way, I'll just give you something that can turn it off. We were fortunate enough, we had a lot of space. I said, hey, like, I'll always have a sled here, and I'll have a little workout for you. You can do a little sled, a little burpee, and you can just turn it off for 20 minutes and get on with your day. And word started to get out that my team was willing to accommodate based off where you were, physical and psychological tolerances.
Mhm.
We talk about this at the seminar, but I just don't think we put it into play effectively, because we stay true to, like, well, we got to do the program. Who gives a shit, right? Now you come in, and if you for whatever reason, and it's also none of my business. Like, I don't need to act like it's, if you just come in and you just give me the look, cool. Grab that sled. You're gonna go down and back. You can do 10 burpees. And, we're going to do that for 20 minutes. And I get so many more people started coming. And who would have thought? People would come in, and then next thing you know, within 10 or 15 minutes, they actually would jump into class, right? Because they, they feel a little better, So I say that with, like, that flexibility is super important. But I actually think that the more strict you are with the programming itself, you'll see less and less people coming in, because they believe, that's the thing, as a coach, they trust you. They put so much trust into you. So think about that as a coach, when like, there's a double-edged sword, is that if things that you say, your members will literally listen to. So if they say, hey, like, you come in, we're doing the class today. Well, they won't come in if they don't want to do the class. Because that's what you said, right? Like, literally, like, they're gonna respect what you said there. It's the same thing of, like, hey, like, if a member, like if you're late, burpees. It's like, great, I'm just not showing up because I'm an adult. You don't punish me, right? Like, they will listen to you, right? And for better or for worse. So, I think that's some of my learnings that I've seen from coaching and then from a programming perspective.
And I think that circles back to what you said at the beginning of, like, communicating and making it clear to your affiliates that, hey, we provide this top-down programming, but you don't have, like, to do Mayhem, you don't have to do every piece and get it all in each day. Look at it, adjusting according to your athletes, and maybe even provide different pieces of that for other athletes that on that given day don't want to do that particular thing. I think that's just such a great point to make, and just to, like, give people the freedom to kind of take what works for them and make sure we're meeting people where they're at. I think that's big.
Yeah. And also, like, if you're, here's the other thing, like, if you're coming in 3 days a week, it's probably not bad for you to move a little bit on a barbell and then get a little workout in and do some stretching, right? Like, it's probably like it's at that point, like, we're kind of splitting hairs with, like, intensity, right? Like, and it's like, oh, like, yes, intensity matters, but, like, something that and I will talk about this, is that we do a lot of intervals. And I talked to Rich a lot about the intervals, and it's actually, like, one of the guiding tenets. Like, it's a huge aspect of the program, because that it works. And it's something that I looked at since I've been, a part of Mayhem. I've been doing way more intervals, and I love it, honestly. Like, it's something that it was lacking in my training. I think it's lacking in most programs, to be honest with you.
I love intervals.
It's like you talk about pushing intensity. That's going to force you to do it. I remember, like, every time there was a year or two where I worked up there twice a month, I think. And so we were always doing workouts, and it was intervals, or it was partner workouts that turned into intervals, right? You go, I go, and just what that would do for you to be able to to accumulate volume on certain things, to push with intensity.
That's
like
right.
all of that stuff. And I've always seen that. And yeah, it clearly it works.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and I think when you just like in the part, like we, you know, we love partner stuff, like, and also like just simplicity, right? It doesn't need to be complex, right? That's the other thing. Like it can be simple, and it is simple, right? And I think that's the beauty of it. Programming does not need to be complex. It can be very simple and potent, right? And I think that that's something where, you know, when you look at a program and you look at how to implement it, that's important, right? It doesn't need to be overly complex. Like percentages freak people out because it's math, so it looks complex, but it's not, right? It's just, you know, I would actually say RPE is way more complex than a percentage, right?
All right. Let's since you
Oh,
brought that
great.
up,
Yeah, that's
question, right?
perfect.
Let's bring this
Oh
up.
my gosh, look.
Yeah.
Are you
Should-
hiding these and putting them in?
Yes, we
I
are.
was like, because if not, that was unbelievably serendipitous timing.
And
But
no, that's Lita posted that a little bit ago. So
Okay.
we've just
Yeah, like
we've
30
been
minutes
hoarding
ago,
some
but-
questions for you that we're going to pepper you with a few questions.
I
So,
like it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So should we, then this goes back, she asked it when we were talking about percentage work.
Mhm.
Should we be teaching athletes about RPE since it can help them understand and achieve variable intensity? It can be applied in conjunction with the percentage work. What are your thoughts on that? I've got an opinion, but what are your thoughts?
I think it's all the same thing, right? Again, like, because RPE percentage based, you just go back to that like concept that Bergner said. It's like, well, if you're coaching an athlete, what are you like? I don't care about how you feel if you move like shit.
Right.
Right. So like same thing with like, I don't care about what the percentage says if you're not moving well. So like the foundation that you got, you have to be earning the right to increase in load, increase in percentage, increase in this rate of perceived exertion. So the foundation aspect's there, right? Now another thing, the reason why I think RPE is good but I think it's in a different sense, more general, is you have to teach new athletes the difference between discomfort, hurt, and injury.
Mhm.
And I hear this all the time, right? My back hurts.
Yep.
Okay. So the way I like to do it is I take like the panic approach. Stop right away. Why? You said your back hurts. We do not work through injury or pain. We don't. Oh, no. It's just sore. Oh, okay. So now you have a teaching moment to have the difference between, you have massive muscles in your back that get sore, no different than your legs and your arms. And it freaks people out because they think that, like, so you have to teach them that and understand that, no, we don't work through pain because that's heinous, right? Like if it's really, really painful, we're going to change it. We're going to do something different. So I think that is where that rate of perceived exertion actually comes in. It's like, well, what is it actually exertion? What is hard, right? But I do think the reality is 90% of our athletes are limited not by their RPE or percentages, but by their mechanics, right? So the reality, it's like, hey, like, you know what, like, yeah, we can go a little heavier, but your knees were touching or your heels were off the ground. We're going to stay here until, you know, we can figure this out. Or like, hey, you pulled this off the ground, but you look like an armadillo. Let's make sure that we can, you know, we can have a nice flat back. So I think the conversation is the same with percentages, with RPEs. Honestly, I think it's the same conversation if you're coaching them. I don't think necessarily one is better than the other. The reason why I personally, RPE is like, it's so squishy.
It's
It's
squishy.
Right, like, and that to
Yeah,
me, like,
I
I just
love
like,
that
I
word.
don't do well with that. Like when you say 90%, you're like, damn.
Well, in my opinion, it's like good varied programming anyways is going to account for that, right? There shouldn't be, I shouldn't do 4 workouts in a week that I'm going to go gas pedal down 100%. I shouldn't do Fran or a variant of Fran 4 times in a given week, right? So it's like the variance in our programming ideally should provide some of those lower percentage RPE and all the rest of that, in my opinion. And it kind of works out based on a given person. Like if I didn't sleep well and I'm not feeling great, and to the conversation you had earlier, somebody shows up and they just want to move that day, I'm probably not going to get them to push to an RPE of 9 or 10. It's just not going to happen, right? So they're going to modulate that themselves. And so I just think, because you guys said like it's squishy, it's hard for us to guide them there. And like our programming and the stimulus should kind of dictate that.
Yeah. Yeah, but that being said, like if you like, some people like if you're an RPE guru and like you start teaching it from like the minute they walk in your gym, you could probably have great results with it, right? Like I think like anything, if that's the thing that you 5 a.m. squat club, man, I'm
This
in
guy,
for it.
this is your guy right here, bro.
First L1 in
2011.
2011.
Hell yeah, it's
Heck
been
yeah.
around some time. I like
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's, here's the other thing when it comes to the like RPE and percentages and even any workouts. Like that's why intervals are so great. Intervals are really hard to do right in a class because you got to get it right. But right, which is nice because there is a sense like it takes the onus off you to like make it perfect. It's like, okay, I need you to work for 30 seconds here, but I've got to put a number on it. So in the beginning, you say, hey, work for a minute, right? And I've seen Rich do this really well with like mixed group. And it was a workout we did a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it was like our goal was like, I think we were doing an assault bike, and if it were just a bunch of us, right, that like knew exactly what to do, we would probably done like 20, right, 20 cows.
20 cows.
But we had a bunch of people, so like to make it easier, to make sure we didn't have like a massive lag, we're like, let's just do a minute on the bike, right? So, well, there's your test. Right. So like when we did it, because of a minute, we were getting, I think, close to 25. Right. But 20 would have been right. We would have, it would have been fine for us, but 25 for the minute. And then for everyone else, they get their time in that minute. Right. So, but that's the beauty of it. That's how you can make a test of do it for a minute, do it for 30 seconds, and then figure out that time slot. Most of our gyms and most of our coaches are so good at moderate intensity.
Yes.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. We don't need to give people an excuse to do a less RPE, right?
Yeah, and listen, like, moderate intensity. Listen, like, but so yeah, you got to go intense once in a while. But like, what is it like? But and then if you're doing something moderately intense, then you bet like let's get some bang for the buck. Things that I love more and more as I get older: horizontal displacement. Love farmers carries. Love things of like carrying load. Like I just love that type of stuff, right? Like if you're going to go longer, like mix up the modalities and things like that. But moderate intensity when it should be higher intensity, that's a way for intervals to really make your life much easier because it takes a lot of the responsibility off the coach of like, yeah, Fran's great, but it's you got to really scale that thing like perfectly, right? To get them. And the minute there's a high skill movement in there is that you're taking out 50% of your class to have any level of intensity past a minute. Like that's a reality because your skill will break down. Yeah. Right. And that's a hard paradigm to have. It's like, and you gotta figure that out.
Yeah, I like it. All right, we got a couple minutes left. We got a few more questions I want to throw your way, and so I'm gonna ask one: what personal and professional learnings are you taking from your HQ role into Mayhem? Sounds like you've covered a lot of stuff so far, but do you want to articulate those? And
I mean, it's a great. It's a great question. I could probably spend multiple hours talking about this because I learned. It would do injustice to answer one question of what personal and professional learnings across 15 years in many different roles and capacities. But some of my biggest takeaways, right? The importance of leadership and organizational structure. And this is just my across multiple, not only at CrossFit, but having the opportunity to own other businesses and things of that nature the last 15 years. Those two things are the most important things to me when I assess a business, a company, a structure: leadership and organizational structure. Nothing else matters other than those two things from my perspective. Everything else cascades off of those. And that has become super clear to me. And personally, I would say, I think the learnings for me, and I've said this, is that, for me personally, to leave CrossFit was one of the hardest decision of my professional and personal career. And it took me over a year and a half to get to that place. And so the personal learning for me was just going through that transition, talking to a lot of mentors, talking to a lot of people. I learned that, just really getting outside of the world of CrossFit, spending a lot of time talking to people, networking outside of CrossFit, things I should have done 15 years ago, honestly. I kept my blinders on, for a long time, and I should have opened those blinders up and just curated relationships that, I've had, but, like all of us, if a relationship takes work, and it takes time. And that was so I spent a lot of time over the last year and a half doing that. And it's became really fruitful for me, learned a lot, read a lot of different areas and books to support and mentors in different places. So it was a really powerful journey for me from that perspective. So it was very impactful personally to do that, because like anything, change is scary, right? In any way. And, and it kind of sucks to say, but it's like, like when you make the change, you're like, oh, like I could have done that sooner, but like the reality is, you couldn't have, because everything led to that moment. But it was definitely a really powerful learning experience for me personally.
Love it.
That's great. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Hardest coaching skill to master and one tip for it from Vicente.
I don't know if it's a skill more than an attribute. I think emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I think emotional intelligence is the most important skill. How and a tip for it. This nature versus nurture, right? I do think that there's some innate ability to read people, and I think that's when you see the best coaches in the world. They have emotional intelligence. How do you get better at it? You need to be around people that have it, and really look at what they're doing when they're not talking and when they're not coaching. Emotional intelligence is the foundation for that is observation and awareness of what's happening. And it takes a lot of skill to be able to do that. Like, for example, the best coaches in the world can walk in front of a class and within seconds know exactly who they're going to talk to first and why. They're going to assess. Yes, we're going to judge the shit out of people, but in a caring, empathetic way, right? And that is the most important thing, because that's how you deliver a phenomenal class, right? So everything else is important, but that to me is that foundation. It's very, very hard, and not everyone has the chops to do it either.
Yeah, love it, man. Yeah, Cabo, you agreed. What?
Oh yeah,
share your
I
thoughts.
absolutely agree. And I love that you answered that, because I think we think coaching skills like seeing dynamic movement,
muscle up progression.
you
Those are
know,
the hardest.
yeah. But no, it's everything trickles down from that. I am a big believer in empathy, like working on your empathy and looking at the perspective of other people and using that to help you develop your emotional intelligence. And it's a skill. It's a skill that a lot of people are lacking, and they don't realize that they're lacking it, and then they wonder why they run into roadblocks. So I think it's just it's important.
Oh yeah, I mean, and and maybe I'm a bit of a I'm somewhat callous, but like learning, like the tangible things just take work.
Mm-hmm.
Just take work, and then humility, right? And I'll say this, and as I'm preparing for like presentations, I'm like going through, and I'm a broken record with this one, but the only unacceptable answer is to say, well, this is how we've always done it. This is how I've always done it, and so that's why we're doing it. That to me is the only unacceptable answer. And because the way you're doing it very well might be the best, but you can't rest on those laurels. And I believe that as a community, that is our number one fault. We continually say, well, this is how we've always done it. It actually goes against the number one guiding tenet of being results driven and continually tweaking the input to find optimal outputs. So if we are committed to results, we are never dogmatically committed to the stimulus.
Love that. Love that. Final question here. Are you going to be coaching any classes or competitive athletes?
I mean, probably not competitive athletes. No, I mean, from classes, like, yeah, I mean, I won't be like officially on the schedule, but I definitely, I'll be spending some time with the coaches there at HQ and spending, really just, helping out. So, I mean, you can't keep me off the floor forever. And so, I'm there a good amount. So if I'm in town, when you're in town, you'll probably see me there, whether on the floor or, hanging from the rafters somewhere.
Love it, man.
Judging.
That's right.
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Austin, for your time. Can't wait to see you at Affiliate Con. Can't wait to hear the lectures. I'm sure it's like riding a bike. It hasn't gone far. Where can people find you? Where can people find more out about Mayhem?
Yeah, I mean, social media, I'm dusting that thing off again. So I think that's just Malleolo are my handles there. Mayhem. I mean, honestly, my email is austinmalleolo@Mayhem Nation. Shoot me a note. Yeah, but and then again, if you want, try the programming out and give us feedback. But honestly, if you want to get a hold of me, get a hold of the team. We'll always reach out. Our team crushes it. So, and we'll be on the road a lot this month. We'll be at Affiliate Con. We'll be at other events. So, I'll be down. I'm down in Cookeville. At least a couple weeks a month. So, and I'm up in Boston the other time. So, that's where I am.
That's it. And if you guys haven't got your Affiliate Con tickets yet, make sure you get those. We are less than a month away from this thing. So let's make sure we make that happen. We've got a new YouTube page. So not only our normal Best Hour YouTube page, but we've got the Knowledge by besthouroftheirday.com or by Best Hour of Their Day. So make sure you guys check that out on YouTube, and the knowledge.pro on IG. If you guys aren't doing that yet, make sure you guys follow us there. Ton of coaching content and tips that go out daily. So with that, Austin, always a pleasure, man. Can't wait to see you in person in a couple weeks.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
Austin.
Austin.
The rest of you guys next week.
Heck yeah.
Thank you for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. Now, if you're a coach who wants to coach more effectively, impact your members, and advance your career, then the Knowledge Pro is the next step. Inside, you'll get hundreds of coaching videos, weekly calls with level 4 coaches, and direct feedback on your coaching. From homework reviews to full class breakdowns, we do it all. This is the best way to grow as a coach and take your skills to the next level. Now you can join the Knowledge Pro at besthouroftheirday.com/the-knowledge. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Now keep coaching, keep improving, and we'll see you next time.